they have split North Carolina A&T into separate districts.
The mother of Ahmaud Arbery.
Overnight, nationwide unrest following the death of George Floyd.
The reason why young people, millennials, Gen Zers are in these streets is not because they're filled with rage, it's because they're filled with righteousness.
What the Unitarian Church gave these protesters here in Louisville, Kentucky. Give me a sanctuary.
After police say they blocked traffic. According to the Burlington Times-News, hundreds of people gathered near the courthouse this afternoon to hear people talk about voting rights.
Marchers posted on social media showing the gathering in Graham outside the Alamance County Courthouse. Police say the group began blocking traffic, which led officers to spray pepper spray at the ground. But those in the crowd say that is not what happened.
You pepper sprayed children.
Marchers to the polls could be heard gasping and coughing. Some of them helped others back to their feet and doused water in their eyes after they say tear gas was used on them.
In a statement, the North Carolina Democratic Party says, quote, the actions of these officers represents completely unwarranted police hostility and voter suppression. This group of North Carolinians was fully within their First Amendment rights to hold their protest and march to the polls.
Justice for the next generation. There's a storm out on the ocean, and it's moving this whole way. If your soul is not anchored in justice, you will surely drift away. Graham, what do we want? And when do we want it?
Hello and welcome to another edition of Live at 5. Today we're going to discuss the life and legacy of Andrew Brown Jr., a 42-year-old black man in Elizabeth City that was gunned down by the Pasquotank sheriffs in an attempt to serve an arrest warrant. However, as we all know, his life ended that day. And so stay tuned for a very special episode as we talk about why Andrew died and what can be done now.
Officials in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, have pushed back their nightly curfew as protests grow over the police shooting of Andrew Brown Jr.
Demands to see the body camera video finally met this afternoon. Andrew Brown Jr.'s family watched it 20 times before concluding the shooting was what they call criminal.
Dad got executed just by trying to save his own life.
Andrew Brown! Andrew Brown!
gonna take about 20 seconds. How 20 seconds can change anybody's life.
Let us not act like we're supposed to be here. Too often, we come to funerals of people that are unjustly brought to death and act like this is a natural occurrence. We are going to celebrate him, but we are not going to excuse the fact that we shouldn't have to be here to do this.
Here we are once again discussing the death of another black man in America at the hands of law enforcement. In Pasquotate County, the issues run deep with the overcriminalization of black and brown people, not unlike what's happening all over America. Enter Andrew Brown early one Wednesday morning, a very special Wednesday morning because just a few hours after America received a glimmer of hope, a twinkle of a turn towards the arc of justice through the guilty verdict in the Derek Chauvin case for killing George Floyd, the news rang out all across the country that another black man had been shot to death by the hands of police. Mr. Brown was at his own home, sitting in his own driveway, when an ambush of sheriff's deputies would pull up and gun him down. The fatal blow, a bullet to the back of his neck.
In this wavy exclusive, you can see deputies arriving to Andrew Brown's home. They're piled in the back of a pickup truck as they make the turn into Brown's driveway. The audio goes out right after deputies demand Brown, who's sitting in his car, to put his hands up. The audio cuts out for 20 seconds. That's when the gunfire's taking place. Police Chief Eddie Buffalo told us the loud sounds caused the camera to glitch.
Our preliminary autopsy report shows is that there were 5 penetrating bullet wounds to the body of Andrew Brown Jr.
Brown family attorneys say that he was shot 4 times in the right arm and once in the back of the head.
At that time, he was hit in the back of the head here, and that is the fatal bullet wound.
We got this video Wednesday when Brown's car was towed back to the sheriff's office. You can see the passenger side and back window shot out.
Yesterday, I said he was executed. This autopsy report showed me that was correct.
As we begin to learn of the emerging details around Mr. Brown's death, his family came forth. And early on in that process, the nation came to know and love his eldest son, Khalil Farabee. Let's hear what he and his youngest son, Gerard, had to say about their father.
With all these killings going on, I never expected this to happen so close to home. Like, he left a close and tight family with each other every day, talking to each other every day. And we, my brothers, my sisters, we is what drove him as a person. We is what made him better. And now I gotta live every day, my newborn, without even getting a chance to meet him at all. And that's gonna hurt me every day. I just want justice. I just want justice.
That's it. Andrew Brown Jr. was a 42-year-old black man, father of 7, and even had grandchildren that he was getting to know and coming to love. Rural Elizabeth City was his home. I've been to Elizabeth City before. However, returning to it to join the national outcry for his death was very unsettling for me. This is a town, unlike many rural towns in the South, that actually has an overwhelming group of public leaders out of the African American community, which makes it a very unique place. A black mayor, a black police chief, a black city manager, black majority city council, and members of the county commissioners are also black. The largest local university and HBCU, Elizabeth City State, black chancellor. The state's third vice president of the NAACP, Mr. Keith Rivers, is a resident of Elizabeth City. And all of these people are now talking about how Andrew Brown could die at the hands of police. Actually, there's a correction to that. It's not police that killed Andrew, it's the local sheriff's deputies. And that is very important for all of you all who are seeking to understand the details around his death to know. The local police chief, Eddie Buffalo, soon to retire, made it very clear in the onset of the investigation of Mr. Brown's death that even though these warrants were served within city limits, he had no idea that the arrest was taking place. And so what does that mean? The local sheriff, Sheriff Wooten, built a task force to go and ambush Mr. Brown early on a Wednesday morning. Obviously, tactical meetings had occurred. Strategy meetings had occurred. Obviously, earlier in that morning, all types of a convergence had occurred upon the serving of this arrest warrant. But what didn't occur is the acknowledgement and the involvement of the local police. And therefore, many people want everyone to know of the issues that run very deep in this community. Is it perhaps because that policeman, that police chief, is a black man? On the Sunday after Mr. Brown's death, just 2 days after I had returned from Minneapolis in fighting for George Floyd's victory and memorializing Daunte Wright, as I was in my pulpit, Attorney Ben Crump was trying to reach me to let me know it was time for us to organize in Elizabeth City. Very early the next morning, I made the 4-hour drive to join the legal team, community leaders, organizers, and activists from all across the state and around the country to draw attention to what led to Mr. Brown's death, and also the lack of transparency in the investigation that is currently being conducted that has left his community and, most importantly, his entire family in trauma, wondering why the video that proves what happened that Wednesday morning is not being shown in its entirety. And so we organized a march with the community and the family on the front lines, a march for criminal justice reform here in North Carolina to draw attention to the pattern and practice of police and the criminal justice system, and to turn up the heat on the district attorney that has not shown us the entire tape.
Carolina has ruled that the family of Andrew Brown Jr. can only see less than 20 minutes of nearly 2 hours of body cam video from his deadly encounter with police. Brown was shot dead in his car last month when deputies tried to execute warrants. His family is expected to see the video next Tuesday, but it's unclear if the footage will ever be made public.
And one day later, after the community march, we laid Mr. Brown to rest in grand fashion. This memorial was unlike any I've ever seen, because it didn't just have just one eulogist, but both Reverend Al Sharpton and Reverend William Barber joined the ranks of people who would eulogize him and call for a demand in justice. Attorney Benjamin Crump gave the call for justice, and yours truly gave the call for action through a song. Let's share some flashbacks from the funeral of Andrew Brown Jr.
In the first book of the Bible, Genesis, it says that when Cain wrongfully killed his brother Abel, that death didn't shut him up. You better know the book. Hey, God. I'll read, death didn't shut him up. Because the Bible said that the blood cried from the grave. The blood kept talking, and the blood kept speaking, and the blood kept telling the truth. I want you to be comforted, because that's why there's going to be justice, because the blood will never stop speaking. The blood is speaking because a warrant is not a license to kill. The blood is speaking because people that talk about law and order, but they give us unlawful disorder. The blood is speaking. The blood will speak. The blood will testify. The blood of Emmett Till spoke. The blood of four girls spoke. The blood of Jimmy Lee Jackson spoke. The blood of Andrew spoke. George Floyd's blood is speaking. Donovan Lynch's blood is speaking. Dante Wright's blood is speaking. Tamir Rice's blood is speaking. Mahalia's blood is speaking. The blood can't be silenced. The blood will never lose its power. One day, the blood will tell the story. There's power. 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 Power.
The trauma of another black man being gunned down by law enforcement has had an impact on the movement that has erupted once again across America.
Because our reality is that Andrew Brown was living under a state of emergency long before they killed him in his own yard. He was born into a state of emergency. And when we leave here tonight, we'll still be in a state of emergency. We don't need no political declarations over a state of emergency. What we need is an entire resanitization of this political system that is over-criminalized and over-policed black and brown bodies for all too long.
People from all walks of life have been saying his name, Andrew Brown, since they learned of his killing. People from every creed, every color, and every generation. Perhaps the generation that is affected the most is the generation from where his oldest son, Khalil, and youngest son, Gerard, are part of. the generation right after him, the next generation. Which is why we are here, to share some more insight into what justice will look like for us and those that are coming after us. And so let's go live now into a conversation with the next generation to talk about how we have been affected by Andrew Brown's killing.
Good evening, everyone. I am here. My name is Jasmine Breeden, and I'm here with Stephen Walker and Jory Edwards.
What's up, y'all?
And so, as you've seen in this video, we just watched Andrew Brown and watched the whole story about what's going on and what's happening right now. And we have been following this since it came out. We have been a part of the march. We have been part of just lifting up the voices for the family, as well as they lift up their own voices for what has happened to their beloved. So we just want to talk about how we have felt during this whole process, as we have done marches in Graham, we've done marches in Greensboro. And so, it's a lot to take in as a community. So Stephen and Jory, how did you all feel as we have been experienced this?
Honestly, I didn't know how to feel, and I want to be careful when I say this, because I don't want to put something out in the in the atmosphere. But it's almost becoming like a norm. Like every summer there is a height in the moment where there is somebody's black life, somebody's black brother, black sister, black cousin has been unjustly murdered, or something has happened to them, and we're still seeking justice. And it just seems like we kind of brush over stories a little bit because they happen so frequently that we can't give them all the attention. So honestly, my heart goes out to all of them, for real.
Jazz and Jory, it's interesting that you said that, 'cause I was thinking the exact same thought, that it's now sad because it's becoming more normalized. Like every summer or every other month, we hear about a whole new story on Twitter, and then you hear a voice in your head saying to yourself like, dang, another one. Another one. It's just like, why we shouldn't have to be so centered on this being such like a normalized feeling, each and every time a black body drops. And now we are in the streets having to, scream justice, scream peace, scream Black Lives Matter. And it feels like, people who are listening to us are saying, you know what, why do you still care? Why are y'all still saying that? And so it's so normal. Yeah.
I know for me, as watching the videos that we watched, and just watching how the police rode up to his house, they had a whole truck full of sheriffs rolling up to this man's house, and who wouldn't be startled or scared being ambushed like that?
Yeah, it was like they were coming as if he was armed and dangerous or something, like he, weapons beware, type thing. So I thought it was a bit much. I thought it was excessive.
Yeah. And so I don't know, it was an uneasy feeling for me to watch that. I almost felt like, I don't know, it bothered my mind to see them fly in like that. And I was thinking to myself, what is the protocol for when you are giving somebody going to get them, and do they not knock? I mean, I understand people try to flee, so they're trying to prevent that, but the way they rolled up, and of course we can't even see everything that happened, but did they have to pull out their guns? What made them want to pull their guns out? What did he do to make them feel threatened to end up executing him?
It's kind of hard to say because there's no tape that's released the tape,
the whole tape.
The whole tape. So it's hard to even speak on that point because we can't even see all that really happened. I mean, I know that they were going there for, I guess, a supposed drug warrant, but we just need to know what happened. All we know is that a black body dropped. He was shot in the back of his neck, and he was shot in his arm, but they won't even say, you know, or show the tape to even try to justify their reasoning.
Right.
And so it's like, you know, what are you defending? What are you hiding from us?
Yeah. And we're a generation where everything's at our fingertips. So if there's 1 ounce of curiosity, it's like we got to have that information. We got to get it. And we're so used to having everything at our fingertips, or just being able to have access to things that, you know, I need proof of this. You know, everybody need proof. You show me this, show me that. Right. And so I believe that, you know, we will get that proof. I'm praying to God that we do get that and see that justice, not just for Andrew Brown, but definitely for his family and, you know, all the other families who are, you know, in the same predicament.
I really loved when Reverend Barber said the blood is going to speak for him.
Yeah, right, it was
like that piece.
That was strong.
It was, I don't know, like I could feel like, okay, you know, it's not a good situation right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. I could sympathize with the son. You know, y'all were already shooting. Was the shots to his arms, was that not enough? Like, you had to keep going. You pushed it to the end to where this man lost his life. And so when Reverend Barber said that, you know, the blood is going to speak, it's going to tell the truth, it's definitely like that was a sense of hope for me. Yeah. And it's I'm hoping that the people who got to witness it in person, that they will also feel like that's a sense of hope. Yes. Like, you're not going to get away with just killing somebody with no explanation, only given 20 seconds and thinking that the 20 seconds is going to justify why you did what you did. And I think the 20 seconds was only of his death. It wasn't even anything for real, you know. So I'm really praying on this side for this family and everybody who wants to see that the justice gets served in that community. Because Andrew Brown's sister said, I left this community years ago because of the stuff like this, and now I'm coming back and it's still the same issue. That really like bogs my mind down a little bit, because it's like, dang, they've been fighting this for years. Yeah. And it's still not worked out. It's still not figured out. And so I'm just hoping that things will definitely turn around for that community.
I mean, Jazz, I can understand, and I can definitely agree, because it's so many times, you know, we hear about these problems and, you know, all of these deaths that's happening and all of the pain from certain families, especially the families who are not getting justice, the families who we never hear about, the families who are saying, when will someone take my case? Right. You know, and so I think for them, the blood still speaks matters the most for them, because nobody's speaking for them. So. And
I was just thinking, remember at the march, and somebody was saying, say their name, and somebody said, which one? Yeah. Like that. Oh my gosh, like we can't even, and I remember people trying to say, but it was like so many names that you can't even figure out which one to say. Yeah. Like, just after that George Floyd case, 2 more people died. Right. And then before the George Floyd case got closed, somebody died in that same city right before. So it's just kind of like you are pressed on every side.
Every side.
So it's just.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah, but now, you know, we have to charge the community to do our part. You know, some people are thinking, well, what can I do? What can I do to make these things better? You know, you might can't necessarily be the number one lawyer for everybody. You might not necessarily be into politics, but what you can do, you can get out in the streets with Justice for the Next Generation when we go places, or any of these justice groups that go places. You know, just make sure that you are being peaceful, that you're being kind with your words and with your actions, because this is our weapon. Yeah, this is our weapon. So we have to use it. We have to use our weapon.
You know, you know, to your point, Jory, for those who are saying, you know what, I don't like to protest. I don't like to be in the streets. Yeah. You know, it ain't my thing. Okay, well, go to a city council meeting. Yeah. Do that. You know, vote people in, vote people out, since you don't want to be in the street. There's more than one way to make an impact.
That's a snap right there, brother.
So we just wanted to leave this nugget, like, definitely come to these marches, as Stephen said. And if you don't come to the march, keep posting this stuff so that the people know that we're serious. Like, we don't want to stop posting and people, they laid back. Yeah. You know, it's no say their names right now. So we just want to make sure we lift up the Andrew Brown family, and that we are definitely on your side, and we're going to keep praying. We know that our pastor, Pastor Drumwright, is definitely praying with you all, and so are we, and we are not going to let up as much as they want us to. So that's it for Live at 5. Before we close, we want to continue to update you that tomorrow we'll have our 3 p.m. worship service. Definitely tune in. You don't want to miss the word. We've been talking about maturity, and we all need that maturity. We also want to say Happy Mother's Day for tomorrow.
Yes, all our mothers.
We lifting up all the mothers. We would not be here if it wasn't for you all. We would not be here if it wasn't for you all. And again, we want to lift up the graduates.
Yeah, whoop, whoop.
Graduation is tomorrow for North Carolina A&T, the best university, HBCU. So we want to lift up our brother Devontae Esters, our sister Sierra Kane, and our other brother Eric Irvin. Congratulations for all your hard work to get to this point. And don't forget to give. We are always welcoming tithes and offering because we want to continue to do some great things in the citadel of praise. We want to do some great things for the justice for the next generation. So just keep on giving as we continue to want to change the world. So that's it. We thank you all for tuning in, and we hope you have a great evening.
See you later.
Love y'all.